Here we will continue the course from SI certs for commercial mechanical inspector. Okay, this is the second part. This is general administration. For this module, it's required this reference International Mechanical Code and International Fuel Gas Code. Okay, scope and application part I. International Mechanical Code 2021 Chapter 1 Section 101. International Fuel Gas Code 2021 Chapter 1 Section 102. This is a notice for stop of work order, as we see here. This is the stop work order, as here it is written the address and written the reason to stop the work, and signature and date and the phone number. Illustration 2A, regulations and responsibilities. The code has limitation. We will teach how code is to be applied and enforced, and we will learn duties and the authority of the code official. Fast fact, the International Mechanical Code IMC and the International Fuel Gas Code IFGC both discuss scope and administration of the code in Chapter 1.
Understanding both code references. The IMC regulates permanent mechanical systems for environmental control within buildings. The IFGC regulates fuel gas systems, mostly for environmental control of buildings or domestic hot water. Let's look at this more carefully.
If an appliance uses a solid or liquid fuel, such as wood, coal, or oil, it is regulated by IMC. Understanding the code. Note that industrial, manufacturing, utility, and portable applications are not covered by International Fuel Gas Code. Study tip. Example, gas lines in a power plant are not covered by International Fuel Gas Code, and neither are portable LP gas barbecues. So, for gas line in power plant and for barbecue that using portable LP gas, it's not covered by International Fuel Gas Code. Minimum standard. The code established minimum standard for safety, health, and the protection of property. When there is a conflict, either in code itself or between the code and the manufacturer requirement, the most specific and restrictive requirement win. Example, International Mechanical Code Chapter 10 require a minimum clearance of 3 feet above hot water boiler with an input above 5 million BTU per hour. A boiler manufacturer states that 4 feet are required above their 6 million BTU per hour boiler, and that is two of boilers can be located back to back with no clearance between the two units. However, the local jurisdiction have their own requirements that all boiler larger than 1 million BTU per hour have a minimum clearance of 30 inches in all sites. Giving the above requirements, what clearance must be required around the 6 million BTU per hour. So in our case here, we have that the boiler manufacturer is stating 4 feet, okay, for the boiler. That's more than 6 million BTU per hour. And the two boilers, it will be back to back. But for the local jurisdiction, okay, uh, it is saying that the boiler that's larger than 1 million BTU per hour have a minimum clearance of 30 inches. Okay, so and chapter 10 is saying the clearance is 3 feet. So in this case, I have three scenarios. Okay, what I will take? I will take the most restrictive scenario. As is that is bare here, it said this code establish minimum standard of safety. Okay, and if there is conflict, okay, the most specific and restrictive requirement win. So in this one, the top clearance it will be 4 feet because here is asking for 3 feet, but here is 4 feet. So this 4 feet is more restrictive. And also since the manufacturer required is more strength than code because it's the manufacturer is more restrictive than code. So I took the manufacturer instruction. Site clearance 30 inches are required. The local jurisdiction requirements are more strict than either code or manufacturer. But here, for the local jurisdiction, it's asking for clearance between the two boilers is for 30 inch. Okay, this is more restrictive than this one is asking for back to back. So this one here in this part is more restrictive. Understanding the field. Generally, existing installation that are code compliant before a new code regulation is adopted will be grandfathered in should a new regulation make the original installation now out of compliance. The installation doesn't have to be removed or abandoned because of the new code. This is very important part. If we have existing installation, okay, this the new installation cannot remove it. It is important to understand that a system must be maintained in according to the original design. The maintenance is according to the original design. Think about it. You as a code inspector have the right to reinstall and reinspect and installation to verify maintenance is being performed. Illustration 2b switch labeling. As we see here, this one is not labeled and this one labeled. We'll see why. Section 403.3.2.4 was added in the 2018 version of the IMC. It requires that controls for outdoor air ventilation system be labeled. If a system was installed per the 2015 version of the code, the AHG cannot require the labeling of switch. Administration and enforcement, part 2. This one is in International Mechanical Code section 103 to 105, International Fuel Gas Code 2021, section 103 105. Department of Inspection, section 103 of both The International Fuel Gas Code and International Mechanical Code create Department of Inspection with code official appointed by the chief appointing authority of
Appointment
jurisdiction.
and personal liability. The code official may appoint deputy code officials. Also, it's important to note that the code official does not have personal liability when acting in good faith.
Okay? Duties and power of the code official. The code official is authorized to interpret and enforce the code. So it will be interpret any something not clear and enforce the code to be done. Part of the code official's responsibility includes the following. Study tip. The code official overarching the responsibilities. Receiving applications is the first responsibility. Reviewing construction documents, issuing permits, perform or require inspection. Entering the premises. The code official always have the right to enter building. Did you know you have the right to enter building at reasonable times and with proper ID? If there is reason to suspect code violation, if you are refused entry, you can obtain an inspection warrant. An inspection warrant is issued by the court, similar to a search warrant for law enforcement. Basic and important duties of the code official.
Basic and important duties of the code official. As a building code official, you have basic responsibilities along with all of your other duties and appointments. You must carry proper identification on you whenever visiting a project site. It's your responsibility to issue necessary notices and orders to ensure compliance with code on a project. You're also to keep official records of applications, permits, certificates, fees collected, inspection reports, notices given, and orders issued. Official records must be maintained, which serve and remain as public record.
Modification. The code official can grant modification to the code regulation if there are practical difficulties involved in carrying out the code. This is something for which the owner must apply. Naturally, there are requirements for a modification to be accepted into the work. Study tip. Requirements for a modification being accepted. A reason must be stated for the code being an impractical application. The modification must be verified that it meets the intent of the code and does not lessen health, life, and fire safety code requirements. The details surround the action of granting a modification must be recorded and filed with Department of Inspection. The finer details of code provision and
The
modification.
finer details of code provisions and modifications. Think about this. The provisions of the code are not intended to prevent installation of a material or prohibit a method that is not prescribed by the code. You can approve alternative materials and methods by finding the alternative in compliance with the intent of the code. If you do not approve the proposed alternative to the code, you need to respond to the permit holder in writing, stating the reasons why.
Permits. This one in the International Mechanical Code 2021 or later, no problem, because this will not be changed. section 106 and International Gas Code 2021 section 106. When a permit required, any changes, including a new installation to a mechanical system or installation which is regulated by the code required a permit. Understanding practice. In an emergency, work can start without a permit, but permit application must be submitted the next working business day. When submitted a permit application, the following list of documentation is required. This is the list of documentation required for the permit. Study type documentation required for the permit. Application form is number one. Required fee. Description of work, number three. Number four, location of work. Five, owner signature. Six, proposed occupancy. Seven, construction documents can be waived. Fast facts. Regarding the permit application, the code official is allowed to waive the construction documents requirements. Here is the permit as we see here. Okay. Project address and work description and use of building, proposed use, project evaluation, applicant, property owner, contractor details, architect and engineer details for name, state license number, expiration date, number of street, city, and phone, and tenant name and phone. Illustration to see permit application. This is the permit application form, as we see here. The application for permit will expire after 180 days if the application has not been pursued, a permit has not been issued. Okay. Temporary equipment system and uses. This is International Mechanical Code 2021 section 107, International Gas Code 2021 section 111. The code official has the authority to oversee, approve, and terminate approval for temporary system via this code section. For mechanical systems, this also applies not just to the system and equipment, but also temporary utilities that feed this system on the municipal sites. Inspections and testing. International Mechanical Code 2021 section 108, International Gas Code 2021 section 112. Code officials are authorized to conduct inspections that are deemed necessary to determine compliance with the code. Inspections and approvals.
Inspections and approvals. After being notified by the permit holder, the code official performs the necessary inspections. Either that portion of construction is released or the permit holder is notified of a violation that must be corrected.
In this area, to make inspection, okay, this must be notified by the permit holder at first. After this, we can make the inspection. This is illustrating the second 2D underground inspection. As we see here, this underground pipe, and here there is an inspection for trenches. After trenches are excavated and bedded, piping is installed, and before backfill that will not break pipes is placed, an underground inspection is required. This one is illustration 2E, rough-in inspection. Prior to the installation, concealing of wall or ceiling membranes. Okay, this before concealing the wall. A rough-in inspection shall be made. This done after the roof, framing, fire blocking, and bracing is placed. Illustration 2F its final inspection. Just after closing the walls and after finishing the rough inspection. This first one shows we have two inspections, the rough inspection and final inspection. Once the mechanical system or fuel gas installation is complete, a final inspection shall be made. Did you know you can require other inspection in order to determine the code compliance, as well as accept reports from other approved inspection agencies? Connecting to existing
Connecting to
utilities.
existing utilities. Connection to a utility or a source of energy requires the code official's authorization. The official can authorize a temporary connection of a system for the purpose of testing the system or for use under a temporary certificate of occupancy.
Permit fees. This one, permit fees, it is International Mechanical Code 2021 Section 109 and the International Gas Code 2021 Section 109. This is pretty straightforward. Fees must be paid to get permit. Work cannot be done without permit, therefore pay the fees. Fast fact, the inspector can authorize the refund of fees. Construction documents. It is International Mechanical Code 2021 in section 110 and International Fuel Gas Code section 107. Construction documents must be included with every application for a permit and must be submitted in duplicate or more. Review the code to understand which documents are required. Understanding the field. The inspector must keep one set of approved documents for 180 days. Think about it. The inspector has the authority to waive the submission of construction documents if the construction documents are not needed to show that the work being done in compliance with the code. Notice of approval. International Mechanical Code 2021, it's in section 111 and International Fuel Gas Code 2021, section 108. The
The
notice of
notice of
approval.
approval. The inspector will issue a notice of approval after all inspections are completed, submitted, and shown to be in compliance with the code. If the notice is in error, incorrect information is given, or compliance to the code has been violated, the inspector can, in writing, revoke the approval.
Service utilities. This International Mechanical Code 2021, section 112 and International Fuel Gas Code 2021, section 110.
Permitting. All utilities
Permitting.
regulated by the code require a permit for connection that is approved by the inspector. As seen in section 107, temporary permits can be approved by the inspector. The inspector also has the authority to have the utilities disconnected if the code is in violation, hazardous conditions have occurred, or permits have expired.
Stop work order. This is International Mechanical Code 2021 in section 113 and International Gas Code 2021 Section 118. The inspector has the authority to issue a stop work order but only under certain circumstances. Study tip. Condition for stop the work. What's the condition for stop the work? Number one, compliance is not being met. Second, work is being performed under hazardous conditions or with unsafe applications. An emergency arises in which the work must be discontinued.
Issuing a
Issuing
stop
and
work
stop
order.
the work.
A stop work order must be in writing and submitted to the property owner or their designated agent, or the person performing the work. If a person who has been issued a stop work order fails to comply, they may be subject to fines and penalties bestowed by jurisdictional authorities.
Understanding the field. The exception to a person being fined if the worker removing or remedying the conditions that caused the violation of or unsafe conditions. This means the exception, okay, to a person is being fined if the worker is removing the condition that caused the violation. Means of appeal, this is International Mechanical Code 2021 Section 114, International Gas Code 2021 Section 113. What if a decision is made that the owner or contractor does not agree with? Okay? If the owner or contractor does not agree with the decision, he can appeal. So appealing a code official decision.
Appealing a code official's decision. A permit holder has the right to appeal a decision of the code official. This appeal is made to the Board of Appeals. The appeal application should be completed on a form obtained from the code official within 20 days after the notice was served. It's important to note that the board does not have power to waive any of the requirements of the code.
Okay, here this is the building code appeal form. Okay, this is the appeal from the owner or the contractor. This is the form. Okay, this is the form for appealing with description for everything. Illustration 2G appeal form. The Board of Appeal consists of 5 members that serve for 5 years each. As described in Section 109, a vote of 3 of 5 members of the board can reverse the decision from the code official. 3 of 5. Violations. International Mechanical Code 2021 Section 115 and this one in International Gas Code Section 2021 Section International Gas Code 2021 Section 115. This photo from side, we'll see the problem here. Illustration 2H violation. It is unlawful to violate the provision of the code. This PVC pipe is installed above a ceiling that it is return plane. This PVC pipe is installed in return air plenum, pathway for return air. PVC is not plenum rated and must be fire wrapped to be code compliant. Must be this PVC pipe must be fire wrapped here above the ceiling because this is return air uh, return air plenum.
Code legalities
Okay.
surrounding a violation. Should a violation occur, it's the code official's responsibility to serve a notice of violation to the person responsible for the violation. The notice should direct the discontinuance of the illegal action and the abatement of the violation. If the notice is not complied with, the jurisdiction's legal counsel can be requested for a proceeding at law or the removal of unlawful occupancy. The certificate of occupancy can be revoked and evictions could follow.
Did you know persons who violate the directive of the code officials can be found guilty of a crime subject to a fine or even imprisonment? This area shows the power of the decision of the code official. General regulation. International Mechanical Code Chapter 3 and International Fuel Gas Code Chapter 3. Okay, this the general regulation. So we discussed before the code official responsibilities and the permit form and the appeal form and the penalties, and now we will discuss the general regulation. Chapter 3 in both code references contain broadly appliances requirements that are intentionally placed in the overarching general chapter. The requirement found in Chapter 3 would not be suitably located in any other chapter, that it is specific to the unique topical subject matter found throughout the remainder of the code chapters. Think about it. General requirements include items related to installation, access, location, testing, structure, and clearance. Chapter 3 contains a series of statements that are difficult to place anywhere and yet also placed everywhere. Although the code will repeat this statement throughout, we don't need to in our teaching. Study tip. Rather than repeating this statement in later module in our course, you can return to chapter 3. Should you need to reference this statement in future, and while there are many sections of specialized information found in chapter 3, we will pull out and highlight the 10 important topics to review. So this 10 important topics. Here is number 1. When utilizing energy, it must be in accordance with International Energy Conservation Code. International Energy Conservation Code. This code reference is not required for the test, but it is important to be aware of how energy utilization is governed. So energy utilization is according to International Energy Conservation Code. Portable water and drainage. Portable water supply and building drainage must be in accordance with International Plumbing Code. This reference is also not required but important to make note of. Electrical. Electrical wire control and connection must be in accordance with NFPA 70. This is the electrical governing code. Okay. Understanding design. The International Fuel Gas Code reference, the International Mechanical Code for required ducts, and the International Mechanical Code reference, the International Fuel Gas Code for any needed fuel gas line. Seismic concern. Any system support shall be designed and installed in according for seismic forces in according with international building code. System exposed to wind shall also be designed and installed to resist determined wind pressure in according with the International Building Code. Understanding practice. As code official, the International Building Code is a critical reference for you to understand and be familiar with. Rodents effective material. Rodent proofing is to be done in accordance with the International Building Code. Defective material or parts must be replaced or repaired to preserve the original approval or listing. Appliances. Appliances regulated by the code must be listed and labeled for the application in which they used. Pipe and fittings. Plastic pipe and fittings and component must be third-party tested to confirm NSF 14. This is published by NSF International. Also, piping and tubing and fitting must have identification of the manufacturer. You can see this in IMC 301.34. Did you know NSF International started in 1944 as the National Sanitation Foundation, but has since expanded its service outside of sanitation. They kept the acronym NSF, but no longer used in it as abbreviation. This means NSF, okay, started, but they keep now their logo, this NSF. As we see here, this here it's rating the NSF. This means illustration to INSF logo and PVC marking. This means for the plastic pipe, okay, that we will use, it must be used by NSF. It must be marked by NSF logo. The image above show typical PVC pipe makings and NSF logo. Fuel fire appliances. The fuel fire appliances should be designed for the use with the fuel type of which they will be conserved. Think about it. Fuel conservation can be done only where its complete instructions are provided from the manufacturer or serving gas supplier. Elevator shaft restriction. System regulated by International Fuel Gas Code or International Mechanical Code can't be located in elevator shaft. This number 10. For systems cannot be located in this elevator shaft. Understanding the code, it might appear to go without saying, but the code even states that appliances and equipment must follow the manufacturer installation instruction. The code is saying, the code is showing that the manufacturer installation instruction is more restrictive. Label requirements is in International Mechanical Code 2021 section 301.9 and International Fuel Gas Code 2021 section 301.5. Permanent factory applied nameplate are required for appliances. Let's review what it is required on a label for varying types of
Manufacturer
equipment.
label requirements. Should you need to recall specific label requirements of product, you know you can visit this section in Chapter 3. For now, simply read so you are generally
Sorry.
aware of what is required for each application and don't worry about memorizing anything. Manufacturer label
Okay,
requirements.
this is
Should you
talking
need
about
to recall
manufacturer labeling.
specific label
We
requirements
can hear
for
it
a
again.
particular type of product, you know you can revisit this section in Chapter 3. For now, simply read through each graphic so you are generally aware of what is required for each application, and don't worry about memorizing anything.
Study tip. Permanent label requirements general. Manufacturer name or trade. This is required in permanent label. Model number and serial number. Seal or mark of approval testing agency. Study tip. Permanent label requirement electrical equipment, electrical rating in volts, ampere, and motor phase, identification of individual electrical components in volts, ampere or watt motor phase, BTU per hour watt output, requirement and clearance. Study tip. Permanent labor required for absorption, so cooling unit, hourly rating BTU per hour per watt, minimum hourly rating for unit having step or automatic moduling control, type of fuel, type of refrigerant, cooling capacity BTU per hour, required clearances. Study tip permanent labor requirement for fuel burning units is hourly rating in BTU per hour per watt, type of fuel approval for use with the appliance, required clearance. Study tip electrical comfort heating appliances, electrical rating in volts, amperes, and phase, BTU per hour watt output rating, individual marking for each electrical component in ampere or watt, volt, and phase, required clearance from combustible. Protection of structure. International Mechanical Code 2021 Section 302. International Gas Code 2021 Section 302. A building or structure may need to be alternated in the process of installation or repairing a mechanical system. Think about it. When installation, when installing mechanical system in a remodel or new construction, the structure cannot weaken in any way. The structure cannot weaken in any way.
Maintaining structural
Maintaining
integrity.
structure
Part 1.
integrity.
When the repair or install is complete, the structure must be left in a safe structural condition, meeting all applicable requirements in the IBC. This also includes any penetrations that may have been affected by the process, which are also governed by the IBC. Also note that the fire resistance rating cannot be compromised.
This is an important part. Cutting,
Maintaining structural
notching, and
integrity. Part
pouring
2.
in wood.
Ductwork will pass around and through the support and framing systems in the ceiling. For example, if we need to add airflow to a particular space as part of a commercial renovation, the structural integrity of the building cannot be compromised.
Let's look at several code regulations that give specific limitation to the amount of cutting allowed into structural wood framing. Notice the distinctions between bearing structural and non-bearing wood members. Okay, this illustration 2G for wood joist violation. This is violate the code, and this one is violate the code. We'll see. Wood joist hold up the floor ceiling. Notches are permitted at the end of the joist, but can not be cut greater than 1 by 4th of the joist depth. This is allowed but cannot be 1 by 4th of the joist. Hole location must be further than 2 inches from the top and from the point on the bottom of the joist with diameter no greater than 1 by 3/3 the joist. Both of these images are violation. As we see here, the cut is here, cut here cannot be. This is the cut in the joist. It must be here 2 inch from here and 2 inch from here. So this one violate. Also this one not 2 inch here. And also it's regulated that the diameter must not be greater than third of depth, and it cannot be cut greater than fourth of the joist depth. So this one and this one violate here, because as we see here, this here it is about 5 inches. It's okay, but here it's about 1 inch or something, and here 0 inch. Think about it. A notch can be located on the top or bottom of the joist, but it cannot be located in the middle third span of the member. Okay, where support load above would receive the greater impact. Top and bottom notches must be less than 6 of joist depth. Have a look here for this one in the stud. Illustration 2K wood stud cutting limitation. Wood studs are subject to notches and holes during the construction process, but there are good limitations. Exterior or bearing portion can accept notches less than 1 by 4 the stud depth, and for non-bearing studs are little less critical, permitted to accept notches less than 40% of the stud depth. There is no question that more than 40% of the non-bearing stud has been notched. Here is another case, 2 studs here. Illustration 2L wood stud hole limitation. This image shows a 2-inch hole in 3.5 non-bearing stud. This non-bearing stud, as we see here, this here 3.5 inch, okay, and this 2-inch hole, which is less than 60%. This means when we divide 2 by 3.5, it will give us, it's about 75 or something percent. This means it's less than 60% of the depth. This one is accepted here because here we have many studs, but are multiple successive studs. Here we have successive studs with the same size hole. Okay, so this is accepted. Wood stud hole limitation continuation. Continue. Exterior or bearing partition studs can accept holes, but they must be less than 40% of the stud depth. Non-bearing stud can take hole up, but less than 60% of the stud depth, whereas each stud is doubled, but can not be located on 2 successive studs. Fast facts. Holes in wood studs must be located at least 5 per 8 inch away from the edge of the stud. Okay, this for the stud, it must be away from 5 to 8 inch away from the edge of the stud. A hole is not permitted in the same section with a notch. This means if I have notch, I cannot make a hole in the same section. Engineered wood products and trusses. Modification to engineer wood products or alternatives. Trusses is prohibited except where recommended by manufacturer or already planned in the design by design professional. Here it's not allowed to make opening here unless it is in the design. Illustration 2M structure steel framing cutting limitation. Cutting, notching, and boring hole in structured steel framing must be planned for and directed by registered design professional according to the code. As a general rule, structured steel flanges and lips shall not be cut or notched. This holds through the web of the beam were planned in the design. Here, illustration 2N non-structure non-structure cold formed steel cutting limitation for non-structure steel. Non-structure cold formed steel wall framing also carries cutting limitation similar to structured steel framing. Flanges and lips shall be cut or notched. This steel framing has notched through flange to fit the duct. Holes are permitted in cold formed steel web as long as they are located along the center line of web. Notice the code regulations that specify the parameter involved. Study tip. Cold formed steel web hole regulation. Hole must be less than 1.5 inch in width or less than 4 inch in length. Holes must be greater than 24 inch away from another hole center to center. 24 inch between center to center. Holes must be greater than 10 inch away from bearing. Okay, this is the general administration. Let's take the quiz. The quiz. A permit would be required for which of the following? Installation of window air conditioning, replacement of a furnace gas valve, installation of a temporary heater, replacement of a water heater. Let's flag this for later and we'll check it again at the end. A hole drilled in 12-inch wood joist. We have joist 12 inch can be up to dot in diameter and cannot be with dot of the top or bottom of joint. Okay, so it can this one for top and bottom for this for joist. As we know here, it cannot be within 2 inches. So this one correct and this one correct. Okay, now we have 12 inch. 12 inch. As we see here, this cannot be up to quarter. Okay, this 1 by 4 of it. This mean 12 by 4. This mean 3 inch. So the correct answer, as I think, is a hole drilled in 12 inch wood joist can be up to 3 inch diameter. Okay, no, the diameter is third. Okay, so no, this one by 3. Okay, I think this one can be 4 inch and 2. We will check the correct answer. Next, in bearing wall framed with 4-inch wood. stud. We have bearing wall and we have 4-inch stud. The biggest knot that will be cut is, it must be uh, about 60% of this, for bearing. Let me try to remember this one. Okay, it is for non-bearing, it is until 60%, uh, and for bearing it will be, uh, I think the maximum will be 1 inch or something. We will revise this one again. What is the lowest temperature a heating system should be able to maintain in an interior space designed for human occupancy? What is the lowest temperature? Okay, okay, it must, I think, 68. Okay, here, show larger image. Okay, using the drawing above, what is the total flow rate that is expected from the hot water pump? It's here hot water pump, and we here have hot water pump. Okay, what is the total flow rate? Let's see here. Okay, we have here hot water pump 1 and hot water pump 2. Here it is giving what is 790 GPM. 790 GPM. Okay, we mark this question. A permit would be required for which of the following? Installation of window air conditioning? No. Replacement of furnace gas valve? Installation of temporary heater? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now get results. Let's see what is the mistakes and what is correct. 80%. Okay, 4 of 5. Let's see what is wrong. Okay. Okay, back to quiz, back to current. Okay, back to quiz. Okay, let's see the answers. The answer, this one is wrong. Oh my God. This what I marked all is correct except this one. This one is replacement of water heater. This one. And it's not for replacement of water heater, not installation of temporary heater. Yeah, this one, if installation of water window air conditioning is no need for permit. Replacement of furnace, no need for permit. Installation of temporary, but replacement for water heater is required. This one. Number two, a hole drilled in 12-inch joist can be up to 4 inches because it is thirds of, for stud it's third of stud diameter and cannot be within the top of 2 inch and 2 inch. Next, in bearing wall framed 4-inch wood stud, the biggest notch that can be cut. This for bearing wall. Okay, for bearing wall, this mean I must use 1/4. The biggest notch, it will be 1/4 from the depth. So the depth is 4 inch, so 1/4 it will be 1 inch. What is the lowest temperature a heating system should be able to maintain? in interior space design for human occupancy is 68 Fahrenheit. Okay, next. Here, as we see here, this pump, and this pump is producing 79 dBm. Okay, let's back to the same module. Okay, so we finished here. This is a commercial mechanical. Okay, we hear the module, we passed, we have 80. Okay, and let's retake the quiz. Okay, let's take quiz again. Okay, permit would be required for which of the following? The permit is required for replacement of water heater, not installation of window or replacement of furnace or installation of temporary heaters is for replacement of water heater. A hole drilled 12-inch wood joist. For wood joist, 12-inch can be up to dot in diameter and be within 2 inches, and it will be quarter. It will be thirds 1/3 of the joist, so it will be 4" and 2". Impairing wall framed with 4" wood stud. The biggest notch that can be cut is 4". For pairing, it will be fourth, so it will be 1" for cut. Next, what is the lowest temperature a heating system should be able to maintain in interior space design for human occupancy? It will be 68. And here is the two pumps. So using the drawing above, what it is the total flow rate that it is expected from the hot water pump. It is expected 790 dBm. Okay, submit. It's 100%. So in the second attempt, we got 100%. So we studied the general administration for regulation and responsibilities and for stop work, this stop work order. And here we studied the minimum standard that's giving for and the replacement for the new code administration and enforcement. We studied also the modifications and permits, okay, and the appeal form, but the permit application, this permit form, and here we study this rough-in inspection and the final inspection, and this is the permit fee, construction document, notice of approval, means of appeal, and here is appeal form. Okay, general regulation. Okay, the electrical seismic concern. All this we studied, and here NSF marking and labor requirements and the protection of structures, the cutting, notching, and pouring in mud framing. This is very important part. Okay, and this is the cutting in steel, and we took the quiz.